later, but welcome back. Thank you all for being here and having your eyes open and getting ready for day 2. We're really excited about this. And lots of ideas are flowing. I hope everyone was as sleepless as I was trying to think about it all. Gee, it made me dream crazy dreams. Anyone else? Pythons. Who's from Florida? I don't know why I have to think about snakes when I get ideas in my head. Anyway, today I wanted to just give you a little 10-minute summary. I wanted to just start out on a personal note. This is not why we have the summit, but I want to challenge you all to help me with something, because behind you is the new $60 million North Carolina Nature Research Center that the legislature has already funded for 49 scientists, educators, and technology specialists to get hired in the next 6 months to make the world's best, most cutting-edge research laboratories that have education outreach. So in other words, it's a chance to really make a difference if we do it right. And what I'm saying to you, because I'm the new director and I'm kind of panicking, help me get it right. So a lot of the ideas that might come from this summit could be really applied to a place like this, because it's brand new with no footprint, no history, no nothing. So I'm counting on all of you to email me day or night with great ideas, that maybe some of these simpler, low-hanging fruits from this conference can be things applied to this site, which in turn can be a model for other sites. As we all know, sometimes it's harder to change things that exist or that are status quo, but in this case, there's a real opportunity, and the state of North Carolina has invested their money in the future of the children there, which in turn will reach out to others. So I just call upon you, because we have connection to every classroom in the state. We have connection to every, theoretically, state and country in the world, and we have research labs side by side with investigate public labs with educators and technology people on the floor to work with kids and families and policymakers all day. And it's right across from the legislature. Hint, hint, location, location. So it is a real opportunity, and I beg of you to help me get it right, because I think, again, these kinds of things don't come along every day. We wish they would. So just to review, we had a really great discussion yesterday about things like this publication in Nature that I pointed out in the morning that has hundreds of gaming volunteers helping them arrive at how to predict protein structures. We had a lot of heated conversation about the conflicts between real nature and virtual nature. Most people come from a background of this real nature. How do we impose technology? How do we use technology to our benefit? Lots of discussion about that. I simply sieved through my notes. This is a total wash over your head opportunity, because some of you I know are leaving at noon or maybe tonight. This list will be much bigger by the end of the day, because these were simply notes that I collected from my table, but we had a lot of people coming into the conversation that are here. We had a lot of great suggestions from all of you. The Department of Defense and the military sector is an untapped resource. The clergy and the role of churches is a place where we could really expand and grow a similar mission. A lot of you mentioned that there weren't enough kids in the room, which is really, really important. The transportation sector is somewhere we might be able to partner. And of course, more farmers and gardeners would be a really good and important part of who's at the table. We talked about training scientists. Oh my gosh, we have a huge opportunity there with just a little more work, or so we hope. Scientists might devote 5 or 10% of their time to such an activity and really make a big difference. We talked about involving maintenance staff in schools so that people understand why going green really is important to their lives. And of course, we talked about the gaming industry and how maybe those bigger companies could take ideas and make them reachable to millions, not just thousands, as is often the case in some of our curricula exercises that we do in our local schools alone. So lots more will come to this list when we collate everything at the end of today, but just to give you just a little sense of how absolutely wonderful it was to have all of you in this room representing diversity. Action items, a lot of really amazing action items that our committee tomorrow will be focusing in, honing down, reducing, but we of course had ideas circulating about gardening and how that illustrates so many levels of sustainability. We had some great case studies about making schools a teachable structure as well as a teachable institution. We had people suggesting to be really reaching out to the audience that you might be addressing. Kids need a different language from adults, from policymakers, from other educators. We talked about some of the toolkits of the future that will include technology. We talked about how informal science education, museums and marine labs and other places can promote messages after school or at different times of day and with different sorts of messages because they don't get tested. So that's a really interesting and important comment that was made, as do churches not get testing in their Sunday school programs. We didn't get our gaming jam, which was an idea that we were hoping to foster, but this is something that a lot of us were looking forward to, but can do without the conference. Russell was explaining to the committee before this meeting that if you give gamers a concept, they can virtually, they don't have to be in the same room, create a game in 24 hours that you could then use in the classroom or play with or tweak or do whatever. So we're still thinking about a gaming jam as an option, a take-home option from this summit that would be really fun to circulate to all of you in a couple months' time. We talked about empowering students to design green schools. Lynn Cherry just had her amazing video of those kids in the Miami-Dade School District saving hundreds of thousands of dollars for their school retrofitting, not necessarily building a new. Everybody's talking about how will we keep this conversation going. That's a very critical issue that needs to be addressed today. And we also have this underlying sense of how can we be sure that we go home with ideas that make our work more effective and more efficient in terms of saving time, money, and energy, which was the original platform for this conference. And last but not least, continuing just to throw things at you as fast as possible, some of the small moves that came out of the conversations yesterday that could make bigger differences, even though they're very small to act out, would be looking at how to bring back science journalists. Greening the schools is an obvious win-win-win, especially when you involve kids in the process. Urban gardening is another win-win-win. It helps the kids, it helps the health, it helps the soil, it helps the local income, it helps the lack of crime. You heard all sorts of things that Will presented to us yesterday. Creating vocabulary for different audiences, the opportunity for scientists to mentor teachers so that we have a bigger trickle down from the scientists' work to students year after year after year. Parents was another conversation I heard quite a few times. How do we engage parents to make sure they're in these conversations? And then how to figure out how to take best practices home with us. I mentioned my own case study of the Nature Research Center, but all of you perhaps and hopefully have institutions or places in the world where we want to replicate all of the best practices. So in closing, I give you my 15 seconds again of why we're here, and all of these youth, not just in America, but all over the world, I think deserve your energy. So please don't go to sleep today. Please don't decide to skip out at lunch just because it would be Friday, and we do need you, and all of these kids need you everywhere. So I thank you again, and please thank yourselves for being here, and that's the end of the summary. So with that, I am very, very thrilled to give PowerPoint. Nope. Okay, so I'll take this off and get right back to you. We don't want anyone distracted looking at photos of children.